recording started.
Take two.
Welcome to the September 7th, 2022 Landmarks Board meeting. The time is 6:02 p.m. I want to introduce our moderator, Brenda Rittenauer, who will review the virtual meeting decorum. And if we can have the first slide, please.
Great, and thank you so much, Abby. I appreciate it. As Abby mentioned, I'm Brenda Rittenauer with our engagement team, and happy to share these guidelines with you tonight. We know that many of you who attend our meetings regularly have seen these slides many times, and thank you for your patience while we go through them for folks who might be joining us for the first time. The city has engaged with community members to co-create a vision for productive, meaningful, and inclusive civic conversations. This vision was designed to support physical and emotional safety for community members, for staff, and for board and commission members. And it supports democracy for people of all ages, identities, lived experiences, and political perspectives. If you'd like to learn more about the community engagement process that led to this vision, we encourage you to go to the Boulder website, bouldercolorado.gov, and type the words productive atmospheres into the search box you'll find there. And next slide, please. The following are examples of rules of decorum found in the Boulder Revised Code and other guidelines that will support this vision. And we will work together as a team to uphold these guidelines through this meeting tonight. All remarks and testimony shall be limited to matters related to city business. No participant shall make threats or use other forms of intimidation against any person. Obscenity, racial epithets, and other speech and behavior that disrupts or otherwise impedes the ability to conduct the meeting are prohibited. And participants are required to raise their hands to speak and to use the name and display the name that they are commonly known by. And we do need to see that whole name before we can allow you to speak. I did see that we have one caller who's called in by phone. If you'd like to speak tonight, please just reach out to me in the Q&A box, which you might not be able to do on your phone, and I'll help change your name. You can also text me at my city phone number, 303-916-7465. I'll try to reach out to you by text as well. Just let me know if you'd like to speak. So those are the guidelines, Abby, and then I think we're ready to move forward.
Thank you as always, Brenda. I want to acknowledge that we have a full quorum tonight, and we'll do roll call and introductions, including our ex officio member from the planning board. And I know that one of our board members has to leave at 7, but Chelsea, we're grateful you're here for however long you can join us this evening. So I will begin. I'm Abby Daniels, chair of the Landmarks Board, and Bill.
I'm Bill Jellick, Landmarks Board member.
Hi, Chelsea Castellano, Landmarks Board member.
I'm John Decker, and I am a Landmarks Board member and vice chair, I think.
And I'm Ronnie Pelucio. I'm also a Landmarks Board member.
And Laura? I know Laura, I believe Laura Kaplan from the planning board's with us tonight.
It looks like we can't hear Laura.
I'm sorry. I was, can you hear me now?
Yeah, hi, Laura.
Hi, I'm Laura Kaplan. I'm the ex officio member from the planning board. Sorry, I was double muted.
Oh. Thank you for joining us. We know that people who are here to participate may have strong emotions about a particular project. We want to hear you, and we have found it to be more productive if you are speaking to persuade us rather than berating us, staff, or the applicant. We will be following the usual format the best we can. Applicants and owners have agreed to use this format. As with regular Landmarks Board meetings, you may only speak at the appropriate time during public participation or at the appropriate time during the one public hearing we have this evening. Requests to speak outside of those times are denied. This month, we do not have a quasi judicial hearing. However, to remain consistent with other meetings, any person testifying, including any applicants, will be sworn in individually. As with in-person Landmarks board meetings, the audio recording of this meeting will be available in the records archive within 28 days of the meeting. As board chair, I will call for a roll call vote on any motions made. And next, if we can move to the group agreements that came out of our retreat in July. So I just want to point out that this is what we discussed at our retreat, and we always welcome any feedback. It is a living document, so we will always continue the dialogue and make any changes as we move on through meetings. But I think it's great to just take a moment and look at these as we've discussed in the past. One of the things we discussed under matters at the end of our last meeting was whether we were going to use the raise hand function in our meetings. And, you know, we've been meeting virtually for almost 2.5 years, since April of 2020. And I think that after a discussion with staff, we're still going to proceed where we'll ask people to provide any feedback or vote by alphabetical, by first name. If you're not ready to share any deliberations at the time, you can wait and we can come back to you for the one hearing tonight. But if we do get to, if there's a new topic or something new you want to introduce in any of our discussions tonight, that might be an opportunity to use the raise hand function. But we're still going at this point to use sort of what we've been doing for the last 2.5 years, doing it kind of alphabetically, or people asking to speak if there's something coming up. So we'll try to see how that works again. So Claire, if you'll go to the next slide. So one thing I want you all to note, and Claire, thank you so much for adding this to the agenda in an effort to have our meetings move more efficiently without stifling any dialogue or any conversation. There are estimated, subject to change, times that we have put on this agenda tonight, and I will try to verbally remind us or do time checks if we need to do that throughout this meeting. But I think this is great, Claire, to have this, and this is something we'd like to do for every future meeting as well. So if there's no questions on that, we'll go to approval of the minutes from the August 3rd, 2022 meeting. Did anyone have any changes to the minutes? Bill, John, Chelsea, Ronnie, any changes? Would someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes from August Landmark Board meeting.
Any second?
I'll second.
Okay, Bill, thank you for making the motion. John seconded. Now we'll do a roll call vote. Bill?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Chelsea, sorry, I got a little bit out of order.
That's okay. Aye.
And Ronnie?
Aye.
And I vote aye, so the minutes are approved unanimously. Now it's time for public participation for non-agenda items. And we have several stays of demolition that we'll be discussing, but they're not part of the public hearing. So now is the time to speak. If you want to speak to any of the houses that currently have a stay of demolition. However, I would have any remarks for our public hearing for 3122 8th Street, you would speak after the presentation by staff at that point. So Brenda, do we have any members of the public who would like to speak now?
At the moment, we do have one member. I'd also like to share with our caller on the phone that if you would like to raise your hand to indicate you'd like to speak, you can do so by pressing *9 on your phone. And again, it will be helpful for me to have your name if in fact you would like to speak tonight. At this point, we have 3 people who would like to speak. So I will start with Lynn Siegel and then moving to Dave LaRocca, followed by Catherine Barth. So Lynn, you should be able to
Would say
unmute.
when you're going to start open comment, because I have 2 meetings always. When you have your meeting, I
Yep.
also have EAB and I need to jump between the 2. So if you could please time the specific time that you're going to have OC, because I need to testify at both. I recommend that you record LDRC meetings. I
And
find
I'm
that I
sorry, Lynn, we need to start the timer. Aubrey, can you share the timer? Because my computer won't do that.
go, so please quickly.
Okay, we're ready for you, Lynn, but I do need
LDRC
to,
should be recorded. Have you heard anything I've said?
yes,
Yeah.
we have, Lynn, but I do need to swear you in very quickly that you raise your
swear
hand.
to do whatever you say. Okay. I think you ought to record LDRC meetings, LDRC, Landmarks Design Review Committee meetings, because it appears that some things that I hear are not the same as what the outcome is. And I know that puts you in a position of liability, but I think you should be liable for what you say and what you do in LDRC. And I've heard people talk about it before, and it just, it seems unethical to not record that. Also, I guess I'd like to say that I have a concern about all the houses looking good on the outside or not being able to see solar panels or what have you. But I think what's more important is that these houses on the inside look like a New York City apartment. So like it's such a fake facade to keep the historic appearance for the public, which is very nice, but to have the insides, no constraints on the insides, just shows the disrespect for the people that live there and designed that space. And I've never seen anything that requires anything on the insides. And I've been into plenty of these houses. I've lived around here a long time. So just a thought about that. Also, I think it's long overdue that you have video windows for the public. Christopher would not know me on the street, except that I think I met him at a field trip at one point. But why don't you want to know your public? Security, come on. That's, you know, if only I could swear right now. I don't buy security at all. So get your video windows up, you know. You have a public, you ought to know them. You really ought to. Done.
Thank you, Lynn.
Thank
And
you, Lynn. And
next-
Brenda David's next.
Yes, Dave LaRocca, followed by Catherine Barth. David, you should be able to unmute now.
And David, if you will swear to tell the board the full truth and then state your name. And if you would also state the address of the property you're speaking to tonight.
Sure. I swear to tell the board the whole truth. And my name is David LaRocca, and I am here about property at 568 14th Street. So yeah, my wife, Andrea Dart, and I are the homeowners of that property, which has a pending demo application. And we know that Claire will be providing you all with an update on the status of our investigations into alternatives shortly. But Claire suggested that we take this opportunity to provide a brief update and address the board directly because unfortunately we will not be able to attend next month's meeting. So yeah, just really due to limited availability of structural engineers, the earliest we were able to schedule a site visit and evaluation of existing conditions is next week. And while we don't have exact and detailed information to present tonight, the engineer who's going to do the site visit is familiar with our house, our goals, and the concerns we have. So conceptually, they've outlined some kind of possible worst case scenarios that we should keep in mind and consider as we move forward, because they could have some pretty significant time and cost implications for our home. So just to outline some of these scenarios, they mentioned, that extensive foundation wall and slab repairs might be needed due to the water infiltration in the basement. It might require new waterproofing, new perimeter and floor drains, tuck pointing the CMU to repair water damage, and continued maintenance of mortar. There may possibly be non-existent or under-designed foundation footers that don't have longevity, since we're in a geological zone with swell potential. And there may be shallow and under-designed foundation footers at the sunroom, as it was never intended to support an enclosed room. So aside from those structural repairs, the scope and cost considerations, we were told to keep in mind that mold, asbestos, and lead mitigation are all but guaranteed considering the age of the home. So just to kind of close out here, to provide us with the most flexibility and efficiency to adjust when and if contingencies such as the above arise, we've decided the best course of action is to maintain our demo application. That said, it continues to be our goal to work with and preserve the existing structure and character of the home while achieving a safe and functional home for us for many years to come. We appreciate the history of the home and believe the spirit of the house should be honored, and we just wanted to share that with you all, and thank you for your time and what you do.
Thank you so much, Dave.
And next we have Catherine Barth.
And Catherine, if you will raise your hand and swear to tell the board the whole truth.
I do swear to tell the whole truth.
Thank you, Catherine.
I'm very happy that Dave LaRocca spoke, because I was at the site visit for that house, and I met him and Andrea, and I met Andrea's parents. It's a wonderful family story because Andrea's parents have owned the house for, I think, 30 years. And so they are really quite, when I was there and chatting with them, they were quite excited about the hope, and hoping and the possibility of their daughter and son-in-law and toddler, and then a new baby's on the way. So they were just very excited about that. So I hope that the engineering investigations will come out in a positive way, or a way that isn't prohibitive. That house is wonderful, and it certainly qualifies to be a landmark. And it reminds me of perhaps an earlier version, or something that relates to the Floral Park houses, in the simplicity of form and the whiteness of the house. So let's cross our fingers and hope that they will be able to continue with the house and rehabilitate it for their family. The next thing I'd like to touch on is 1804 Mapleton. And that house I see to be related to a house that was on Goss Street, the Hall House, and it was the first house that was built in Boulder by ex-slaves, and they built it by hand by themselves. And this is some years ago. At that time, there was even a developer who was interested in the house, but he said the only way he could do it is if he moved the house to be like an office on one corner of the property and then built a new house. The city of Boulder was absolutely inflexible at that time. And now, of course, we've got ADUs and you get credit. So I'm hoping that there will be some way that we can just wave a flag and say to the city, let's be as flexible as we can be about 1804 Mapleton. And that addition that is not, I consider a really good part of the landmark, but the main house is. So I see that I've run out of time.
Thank you, Catherine. Brenda, is there anyone else?
I do not see any other hands at this time, so I believe we are finished with open comment tonight.
Okay, we will go ahead and close public participation. And Catherine, assuming you're still on, I believe that baby has already arrived. So congratulations to Dave and his wife. So now we will move on to a discussion of landmark alteration and demolition applications pending.
Thank you, Abby. We're actually going to do the statistical report first, if that's okay. And here's an overview of the August statistics. This is a breakdown on the approved, denied, and withdrawn applications. Blue, as usual, are the LACs, and the pink purple ones are the demolition reviews. So August was relatively quiet, thankfully. We approved 7 LACs, 4 were administrative reviews, so roofing and AC units mainly, and 3 were approved by the LDRC.
Claire, I'm sorry. Could you go back to slide 7, please?
Yep.
You moved a little too quickly through that for me.
Sorry.
And I did look at it before, but I wanted to ask a question regarding the non-designated pre-1940 demos.
Mm-hmm.
And it's looking like there is just one of them, I
There
guess.
is. Mm-hmm.
There was just one of them. And was that one that we had, that the Landmarks Board had seen at a DRC?
That was one that you saw at an LDRC that was approved, yeah.
Okay. Okay, that was my only question. Thank you.
Okay. Did you have any questions on the LACs before I move on?
Nope.
Okay, good. All right, and this is where you'll see that that non-designated pre-1940, which was approved at the LDRC. And demos do continue to be somewhat busier than the LACs. Staff reviewed and approved 14 applications. That was for post-1940 buildings and accessory buildings. And then there was that one pre-1940. It was actually a 1900 house that was reviewed by the LDRC and approved as a partial demo. And no applications were referred to the Landmarks Board in August for demolitions. So this is the year so far. Demolition reviews are now, this purple chunk, matching the totals for the year for the last 2 years. And LACs are just under half of normal for the year. And this is a graph of new applications compared with the last 2 years. We've received and processed 23 new applications in August. So we had that little downslope that I was hoping for. And again, this is the 6-year average. You can see that for new applications, we were down a bit. So I got the quiet month that I was hoping for. And this is a new graph that I thought I would throw out there just as an FYI, and I think it might help explain the increase in demo reviews this year. The bottom blue line is the housing stock. So that's the number of buildings added during the decade that's identified down here. The yellow is the cumulative total of all of those buildings. So as you can see, because so many buildings were constructed in Boulder after the war until the 1960s, that's this little peak here. we saw this huge increase of buildings eligible for demolition review. So we currently potentially would review this many buildings because they're older than 50 years if they were proposed for demolition. So I think that the reason we're seeing so many demo reviews this year probably is a lot of different reasons, but there are also a lot of buildings that potentially require our review. So any questions on the statistical report?
I just want to make a comment just to make sure everybody understands that what you're showing us on this chart right here are staff reviews primarily. Because the only reviews that the Landmarks Board gets involved in, unless staff engages the Landmark Board, are those properties built in 1940 or prior.
These are cumulative. So these could be anything that was built since the beginning of time in Boulder. Any pre-1940 buildings are brought to the LDRC initially. They're not reviewed by staff. So that would include these. So this is potential. So anything
that's what I'm trying
older
to
than
point
50
out.
years.
I'm trying to point out that this surge that you're indicating on this chart is largely an impact to staff.
That is correct.
As time moves on, this is not an impact to the Landmarks Board unless staff wants to engage the Landmarks Board. That's all I'm trying to point out.
That is correct. So Abby, I think you had your hand raised.
Oh, I didn't mean to. Sorry.
Oh, okay. John, did you mean to raise your hand?
I did.
Okay.
So I have a question. Is the review that is executed by staff on any of these buildings pre-1970 that come in, is that the only real demo review that occurs in the city? When somebody enters tries to pull a demo application, what process does it go through before it gets to planning staff?
It's the only historic review, so we're looking for potential historic significance. I don't know what else is considered during the process. I don't know that KJ would either. We might have to get back to you on that one.
Right. The question is anything all other than potential historic significance considered?
Not by us.
Okay.
Currently.
And then, oh, sorry, Christopher.
Oh, I was just going to say, not by the historic preservation team. And Claire's right. I unfortunately just don't have the institutional knowledge to be able to tell you what other forms of review may currently exist, either within our development review team or through climate initiatives or other departments. I'm just not sure. So we'll have to follow up on that and get back to you.
Okay, because the next question is, if someone has a building less than 50 years old that they wish to remove, is that just about a walkthrough? I mean, or a countertop review, or is there any kind of real review on some level of merit in the city of Boulder?
I believe there is not, but we'll have to follow up on that. If the building is not yet 50 years old, there is not any historic review, any significance review. A good example of that would be the tea house, which I think
could be torn down.
It can't now because it's landmarked.
No, but it could have been.
Right. Hypothetically.
The word you used, John, was of any merit, not necessarily historical merit, but like of any merit. So if somebody built a brand new house 5 years ago and somebody else decided to buy it today and totally demolish it, even though that house might have been designed by a noted architect,
or have brand new materials in it,
or anything. The key word that I like your question when you framed it as anything having merit, not necessarily only historical merit. And it doesn't sound from the answers we've got so far like there are any. It sounds like it's just they look at the dates and that's it.
Yeah, the 50 years is a pretty typical time frame for historic review, because the idea is that you don't have the context to be able to look at anything younger than that and decide whether it has significance. There's lots of debate on whether that is true or not, but currently the City of Boulder, we only review things that are houses that are over 50 years for potential significance.
So I think this is a good type of discussion to further along when we get into, if we ever get into demolition ordinance review and update. Because
Exactly.
I agree.
yeah, because Claire, your words are chosen very carefully and precisely. But I think what we're talking about here, what John's talking about, what I'm reading into this is, we think there's other types of merit besides historical merit. Notably, and comes to my mind first off is architectural merit by itself. There could be other types of merit, again, not falling under what we would call historic preservation merit, but just under some other kind of merit, just, you know, outside of what we normally look at.
Well, there is the issue of materiality and loss of utility and all of those issues, sustainability, embodied energy, all of those things that appear to not be really considered because it's not in our purview. Staff probably does, but we
Well,
don't.
John, could you bring this up a lot, and I have to put you on point here to explain this a little more seriously now, a little more precisely. What would we do if somebody looked at a property that had embodied energy, as you call it? What could they possibly do to say, no, you can't do this, or if you do this, you must do various types of things in order to meet some sort of city code or guideline?
Well, I mean, this leads to a discussion that I guess Aubrey and I started after the conference about deconstruction versus like destructive demolition. These are, I guess, citywide discussions. I don't want to get on my soapbox about it right now, other than we're it right now. It falls on us. We end up debating these things in terms sometimes that aren't really our purview in terms of preservation and historic preservation issues, but at the same time, they're things that I feel need to be considered when you demolish a building, and they're not being considered because we don't have a blueprint for their consideration, and there's no process in place that really even subjects them to that kind of review. And I think that's part of the discussion that has to happen about this. There seems to be, and I'm going to go one step further, and then I'll get off the soapbox. There's a trend towards demolition. It's national. It's not just Boulder. That it's the easiest way out in any kind of redevelopment option is to just knock it down and haul it away, and it's somebody else's problem. And I think that Boulder is better than that somehow, and I'm just going to leave it at that.
Thank you. I think this would be a real healthy discussion, either under, board initiatives or at the next retreat. I see that both Laura and Ronnie have their hand raised. So Laura, did you have something to?
I just wanted to ask a question and to make sure I'm following the conversation. So when you folks talk about some other kind of review or other kinds of significance, you're talking about wanting to have additional criteria that would prevent a demolition. Is that what I'm hearing? Besides historic significance?
I'd like a comprehensive look at the issue of demolition at top levels of city government myself, and have some type of, I guess, broader community initiative associated with that, because I think it's an issue. It's an issue of sustainability, and it's an issue of, I guess, resources and waste that just is being ignored. Ronnie's got his hand up.
Yeah, Ronnie.
Yeah, I mean, I think we don't have enough information. There is a waste diversion program and demo requirements that are in place already. And so things don't just happen and get disposed of by just sending them to the dump. So I feel like while that could be more robust, I do feel like we would be better suited discussing this, you know, as a specific topic with an aspect of it that is a presentation, potentially by staff, that highlights how the waste diversion program currently works, and what other aspects might be involved in getting a demolition permit that relate to these things that I think maybe this group is bringing up. But I do think that we should probably get all of that information, have that presented to us, and then maybe consider how those topics might relate to our area of review.
Thank you, Ronnie. And I see Bill's hand up, but Claire, your slide certainly has provided a lot of food for thought. So Bill, go ahead, please.
Yeah, no, I want to go back to Laura's point. Laura, that's exactly what I was trying to get to. Thank you for clarifying that and bringing it into sharp focus. No, I'm saying this specifically to John because John, you bring this up all the time, and I don't know if this is the right place for this. I mean, it's okay to have these thoughts, it's okay to have these values, but to Laura's point, what would we want to do with this information anyway? This is a historic preservation board, historic preservation group that looks at historic merit, and I also would think architectural merit would be sort of connected to that as well, which might not necessarily have anything to do with age, but might have everything to do with the architect that designed a specific building, regardless of when it was done. So that's my only point. We can talk about, you know, redirected waste and all these other things, sustainability, that's great. But to the point of what this board should actually or could actually do about that, I would defer to Ronnie's point and say, you know, so noted, let's move on.
And I agree, this is very valuable. And I think at an appropriate time, sooner rather than later, we can pursue this as part of an agenda in the appropriate forum.
Okay, that's fine with me. I just wanted it out there.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great comment. Ronnie, did you raise your hand again, or is that? Okay, Claire, I think it's back to you. Thank you, Claire, for starting this off.
All right. So moving on to our demolition updates. We currently have 2 active stays of demolition. The demolition application for 3122 8th Street was withdrawn on August 31st. The initiation hearing is still on tonight's agenda as it is a different application and a different process. But for the demolition updates, I would like to focus on the other stays that are continuing. So 568 14th Street and 1804 Mapleton Avenue. So similar to last month, you're not making a decision on the outcome of the application, but you have an opportunity to schedule hearings to do that. So the scheduling discussion is whether the board would like to add a public hearing to the agenda at a future meeting, and the public hearing would be the forum where you can lift the stay or initiate designation. And this
So I have my
is-
hand up on that, Claire.
Oh, sorry, I can't see you, Bill.
I'm sorry. Maybe
I see your hand up.
Use
Bill,
my glasses, maybe. I don't know.
I should say, any questions before I
Yeah.
continue?
Oh,
go
you're just
for it,
seeing the
Bill.
full screen. Yeah. Regarding these 2 on 14th and Mapleton, will we have an opportunity to just talk about these things and not just to say the only time we have the opportunity is if we want to initiate. I'd like to be able to get more information about where we stand on both of these, so I have some knowledge of what has been done at the site visits, what the board members who were at the site visits have to say about what they saw. Where do we stand in terms of getting anywhere near understanding the quality of these buildings and whether or not they should be preserved? That's what I'd like to have us talk about.
Okay.
So, we might say something that could change my mind and say, well, there's no point in going on to 9/11/3 if this building doesn't, based upon the reviews that we've done, really doesn't merit it.
Lucas, help me out here, but I believe that any decision making should be held if it's not part of the vote. Is that correct? So what Builder said probably wouldn't be appropriate, but he could.
The decision would be in
decline.
my, the decision would be in my own mind, Claire. That would not
Oh, okay,
necessarily be
okay.
something I want us to formally vote on here. The formal vote would be on 9/11/3. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, thank
I'd
you for
like us to have some
clarifying.
other discussion prior to getting to 9/11/3.
Right, and I will go through the some updates. Ronnie actually requested that I go into 1804 a little bit deeper to talk about the significance, to remind you all of what was in the memo for that one. And I'm happy to do that with 568 14th Street as well, if you would like.
Yeah, both of them.
Okay.
And also just a debrief from what the Landmark board members, I know we talked a little bit about the one on Mapleton, but I'd like to have a further deeper discussion about it.
Okay. So just a reminder of the process and where we can go from here. So you can either vote to hold a hearing at the next meeting or take no action and allow the stay to continue. We'll say that the stay for 568 14th Street expires on October 30th. So tonight is the last opportunity to schedule a hearing before the stay expires. And that hearing would be scheduled for October 12th, which is our next scheduled meeting. The stay for 1804 Mapleton expires on December 5th. So next month would be the last opportunity to schedule a hearing before the stay expires, although you can make a scheduling decision tonight if you choose. All right, so 568 14th Street, as I said, the stay expires on October 30th. Since we met on site at the end of June, seems like a long time ago, I've had a couple of conversations with the applicants. The subcommittee has not been involved in those conversations. As you heard from Dave, they have not been able to have a structural engineer go and assess the building yet. They do have it scheduled, and they would prefer to continue the request for full demolition, as they feel like this gives them the best options for their future, whatever they're going to do with the house, which will depend on the structural. This is the sun porch portion of the house that Dave was talking about. You can also see it here, which was added in 1950, I believe, I'm guessing, around that time. I will correct that if I'm wrong, by the current owner of and resident of the house, which at that time was Helen Carpenter. And the significance of the historic significance of this house is that Helen was an employee of CU for many years. She actually attended CU in the teens, 19 teens, and as a teenager, and then was employed first by the university to place teachers, which was the one of the only professions that women who got a degree at CU went into, and then she went on to be the director of the placement department. I'm getting probably the name of the department wrong, as and was very instrumental in bringing a lot of industry to Boulder through the placement office at CU. So she worked there her entire life and lived in this house with her mother. And so that's the historic significance. The house was built in 1940, and then the sun porch was added in 1950, and is associated with Helen. Oh, hey, look, I've got all the notes in here. So she worked at the University Placement Bureau beginning in 1922 through 1968, and I would say was instrumental in forging paths for graduates at the university. In addition, this area is was recognized in the last survey as a potential historic district. The house itself was considered at the time of that survey as a contributing, I believe, contributing restorable within the potential expanded University Hill Historic District. So architecturally, the house is masonry vernacular. It's representative of this construction of the 1940s. As was mentioned earlier by Catherine, it's reminiscent of the Floral Park Historic District. It's also significant for its placement right at the corner of 14th and don't remember what the cross street is. Yeah, any questions? Is that winging it assessment of the significance of this house?
I think you covered it.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
I mean, I was there and you got all the major points that I
Yeah.
saw.
I was just wondering if we could just cover the timing on this one more time. So the structural review of it is underway.
Mhm.
There's an anticipation that will be supplied to the Landmarks Board in the near future, in the next couple of weeks. And the latest date in which we can have an initiation here or schedule an initiation hearing for this is after the next board meeting. Is that correct? So we plan on getting the structural information before the board meeting. We'll have an update at the board meeting. We can have a board meeting, talk about it again, evaluate that and make determination if we, is that correct, Claire?
That is not, unfortunately, the board would have to make a scheduling decision tonight to get it on the October 12th meeting.
Otherwise, would it be a special meeting, Claire? Which
We
I know
don't,
is- Yeah.
right, we don't,
Which
I
I know
don't
you're
believe
trying to
have
avoid.
time to fit in a special meeting. We would have to do, a special meeting would have to be notified 10 days in advance.
Right. But, and Bill, I do see your raised hand, but this is an opportunity like we did last month where I believe the motion to hold the hearing tonight that we're about to head into was to hold a hearing to discuss initiating, and you also included or approving the demolition permit, right?
That is correct. Yeah. And the other thing that I think we should consider is that the condition of the house and the cost of restoration is only one part of the criteria that the board should consider. So even though I think it's playing a key role in the decision making for this house, I think that it is just one part of that.
Bill, did you have your hand raised?
Yes, I did. I'm not so much interested in the people that lived in this property and its history. I think I recall what happened back when we first heard it. I'm more concerned with where we feel this property sits in the world of historic preservation at this point in time. Do we feel that this property is landmarkable? We obviously thought it was potentially landmarkable. Have we got any more information about the construction of this property that gives us some direction, either pro or con for landmarking, than what we had when we first looked at it? I didn't visit this property, so I couldn't see it up close and personal, but I know other landmark board members did.
I think this house is landmarkable. I think it's a remarkable property.
Okay, well, there's one voice. Who else visited it? Anybody wanna? John looks like he did. What do you think, John?
I think it is a potentially landmarkable property. It is a remarkable property. The landscaping around it and the neighborhood that it sits in, the context, increases, I guess, its value as a resource, a historic resource.
So what would the engineering report potentially do towards either rendering this more or less landmarkable?
There's a section of the house that is somewhat in trouble. Engineering, there's visible slumping on one side, the sunroom side. It looks like it was a not correctly added addition.
Mm.
And it appears to be, well, it's not really visibly pulling away from the house, but it's slumping away from it on one side.
Is that contributing to a lack of integrity for the rest of the property?
Actually, interestingly, I think that the kind of germ of the house without the sunroom wing could be intact if it had to be removed. However, on the back side of the house, it would have visible impact on the elevation.
And John, one of the things we wrestled with, and Chelsea, I see your hand raised as well, is that the addition John's talking about in the engineering report will shed a lot of light on this, is that it is on the front facade. So, that factors into when you're looking at the primary facade of this house. Chelsea, would you like to go ahead?
Yeah, I'm just curious because this is my first go at this part of the process. So usually when we have these decisions, do we often have the engineer or structural engineering results by the time of this decision? Or because it seems like we're supposed, we have to weigh it as a whole, and we're missing a really big part of the criteria that we use to decide.
I think we often do, but I don't think we always do. Do you agree with that, Claire?
I do, and I would agree that it's also something that we should review when we review the revisions to the demolition code, because I think especially now it's been very, very difficult to schedule people to come and look at properties.
And I want to add, Chelsea, this, whatever quote decision unquote we make tonight would be only to hold a hearing to decide if we wanted to go forward to landmark it. So it wouldn't be to actually landmark it. So the hearing, oftentimes, this 911.3, we use that phrase a lot, and the Boulder Code. That section is what would be voted on, I would think, which is what the property up on 8th Street already is under. And that was just a decision to hold a hearing to decide if we need to go further to landmark it. Oftentimes invoking 911.3 gives us that additional time. It also allows people to come out of the woodwork who have something to say about it, whatever, but it basically buys a little more time.
And Claire, remind me or clarify for me if I'm correct on this. I think it's posed to us tonight as more of a scheduling issue than to get into a detailed analysis and discuss it too much on the merits, correct?
That is correct.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, we're interacting here. I don't want to keep putting my hand up, but Claire, this is where we might put a motion forward to decide to hold a hearing under 911-3.
That's correct.
For the next landmark board meeting.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, and just like with the hearing that we're holding today, the hearing would be scheduled for to
The next-
consider the initiation or to issue the demolition approval.
Ronnie, I see your hand raised.
Yeah, I think that this property fits pretty squarely in the category of needing to move forward with a hearing to review whether or not to move forward to landmark designate this. I mean, I think we've heard from staff about the people, the place, the larger, broader environmental aspects of it. I think it would be short-sighted of us to not review this in greater detail, have that discussion, and also have the opportunity to discuss it potentially with additional information regarding the structure.
And I'm cognizant of Chelsea having to leave shortly. Is there someone that would like to make a motion, or do you want more discussion? I think we're ready to make a motion and move forward.
Yeah, I'll make a
Yeah.
motion.
Okay.
Bill,
I don't
please.
see any motion language up either.
It's up there now.
There it is. I move the Landmarks Board schedule a hearing to consider adopting a resolution to initiate the process, boy, that's a mouthful, for landmark designation pursuant to section 911-3 of the Boulder Revised Code 1981. Or alternately issue a demolition permit pursuant to 911-23 Boulder Revised Code 1981 for 568 14th Street in Boulder, Colorado.
Do we have a
No.
second?
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Is
I
there-
second that.
Thank you, Ronnie. Bill made the motion. Ronnie seconded it. Is there any more discussion before we take a vote while Chelsea's still with us?
I do have a few more minutes. So my meeting that I had to go to is
Okay.
delayed. So
Okay, well, we appreciate you being here as long as you can. So,
thank
Bill, your vote, please.
Aye.
Chelsea,
aye.
John,
Aye.
Ronnie.
Aye.
I vote aye, so the motion passes unanimously.
All right. So moving on to my hopefully a little bit better update of 1804 Mapleton Avenue. The subcommittee has not met with the applicants since the last site visit, which was on July 22nd. We discussed some technical aspects of the zoning and code requirements. And since then, the applicant has stated that they currently do not see any viable options other than full demolition, and that they do not intend to submit information related to the condition of the building or the projected cost of restoration or repair. So a little update on the significance of this building. It's a vernacular frame house constructed pre-1898. We have not been able to nail down an exact date. It's very simple construction with a hipped roof form and stone foundation. It was originally sided in wood, but now is sided in asbestos siding. This front projecting bay also has a hipped roof here. There's an inset entry porch with some moderate decorative details typical of the period, and a side porch, which you can see, kind of see behind the trees here and in the current image here, is on the western elevation and has similar detailing to the front porch. We believe it may, based on this photograph, which is 1929, we believe it may have been a duplex that early. However, a new rear addition, which you can't see, it's back here, was added in 1967, and that doubled the size of the house, leaving this front portion with its original form and massing, and creating a non-conforming legal duplex. So this hipped roof form was typically found in working class neighborhoods, and there's some history of the renters and people who owned the house. As early as the 1890s, Mary Bartlett purchased the house as a rental. She rented it to various families, including the Bergstroms from Sweden. Gustav Kaiser and his family purchased the house in 1905 and lived there until 1926. They were immigrants from Germany. And then Anna Anderson purchased the house, and she was an immigrant from Sweden. In 1943, Woody Hewitt and his wife Bertha rented the house briefly. Woody was a service station attendant who eventually bought a Texaco station at the corner of Spruce and Broadway. And from 1951 until 1968, Woody was first state representative and then a state senator. So for environmental significance, this house is located within the potential Whittier Historic District and was recognized as a contributing building to the district, the proposed district, in both the 1988 and the 1998 surveys. Most of the residences in that proposed area are vernacular and reflect local taste, custom, and materials available at the time of construction. The buildings are predominantly single family, although there are several early examples of duplexes. In addition, this house is prominently located on the east side of Jesse Fitzpatrick Park, which is a city park, which you can see here with the house right on the edge. And this is the 1967 edition back here, and the rear of the house where you can see it's fully 1967. So any questions about this house?
No, Claire, thanks for that great refresher about this house. And again, this is an issue just like the previous property where it's more a scheduling decision rather than going too far into the merits tonight. And we have a little bit more time. I know staff's recommendation is if the board would like to hold an initiation hearing, that would be at the November 2nd meeting. So Bill, any thoughts? Oh,
Yeah.
I don't know who raised their hand first. Bill?
I was last, so.
That doesn't matter. I just want to point out, or I want to ask this question for clarification. The owner of this property is a developer. Am I correct in understanding that?
You are correct.
And as such, he wants to make multiple units out of this particular lot. Is that correct? Is that why that he does not have any more information to give us and won't provide any engineering reports or anything else?
The answer that I actually got from the development review folks are, if this house was fully demolished, then the thing that the developer could build on this site would have to conform to current zoning standards, and that would mean a single family residence, not a duplex.
I see. But regardless, this particular individual feels that to get maximum value out of this particular piece of land, he believes that this property should be demolished in its entirety.
Yes.
That's my understanding.
Yeah. I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, Claire. I'm just trying to point out that what we're dealing with here is not someone who necessarily wants to live in it, a homeowner or anything like that. It's a different kind of entity who's looking to demolish the property. Thank you.
Ronnie?
I think we need to be careful about that description of who the applicant might be, because I'm sure Lucas has plenty to say about this. It isn't an individual, a development team, or their motivation that might make us enforce the regulation differently. It truly is just the request itself. But that being said, and Bill, you might have something to say about that, but that being said,
I do want to say something just to respond, Ronnie. It wasn't to do what you suggested I was doing. I wanted to understand if there was any hope at all of being able to preserve the property, because, if it were a homeowner, there could be potential to hold on to the front portion, the historic portion, and demolish the rear and maybe expand upon it. That's my only reason for asking that question, just to get some clarity on where we're headed with this.
Super smart. Yeah. And I think that's available to this applicant too. But definitely. And so, I know that I'd asked Claire to present on this one, and I'm sure that they had that planned anyway, because, I think that, again, like the last home that we looked at, that this again meets the criteria for review to advance it to have to see if we'll have a hearing for landmark consideration. This building shows up in early records. I think its form is still evident, intact, window openings and placement, and even many of the details on this building are there. It's obvious that the back half of this home is not part of that, aspect of the home that's of significance. But again, I think that this home should move forward. And I plan to, after our discussion, make a motion to see if we can move it towards scheduling a hearing.
Thank you, Ronnie. John?
I just have one comment. I think it's very interesting in the picture that you have showing on the bottom left corner there. Look at the veneer on that porch wall. It's just interesting. It's similar to the 8th Street house veneer. I don't know if there's any relationship or if that's just something that was happening around here. So, and I do concur with the things Ronnie just said.
Thank you,
And,
Chelsea. Oh, Chelsea?
Yeah, I agree that we should move forward with the hearing.
Thank you. And John, I don't know if you wanted to say anything else before we entertain a motion?
Yeah, I'm in favor of making a motion.
And I'm sorry, Bill, do you have anything to add before Ronnie makes a motion?
No, I thought we were going to hold off doing this until next meeting to hold a hearing for the November meeting.
I think we could make this decision, make the motion, and potentially make a decision tonight with the expectation that it'll be scheduled for November.
Yeah, okay, good.
Okay, Ronnie, would you like to make a motion?
Right, I definitely do. I move that the Landmarks Board schedule a hearing to consider adopting a resolution to initiate the process for landmark designation pursuant to section 911.3 of the Boulder Revised Code 1981, or alternatively issue a demolition permit pursuant to section 911.23 BRC 1981 for 1804 Mapleton Ave.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second,
Thank you, John. So on the motion by Ronnie, seconded by John, I heard his reply first. We'll do a roll call vote. Bill,
aye.
Chelsea,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Ronnie,
Aye.
and I vote aye, so the motion passes unanimously to hold a hearing on January 2nd for 1804 Mapleton Avenue.
Wait a minute. January 2nd?
Oh, November 2nd.
November.
Did I say January?
I believe you did.
It's going fast enough.
Did
Well,
hear-
I
did
meant November 2nd,
November.
2022. Ronnie?
I just wanted to say that for these two properties, I am interested in hearing if there is any opinion from Historic Boulder on, you know, the direction that these are headed. So I guess I'm just putting that out there. I know they have representation at most of our meetings. I haven't looked at the participation list tonight, but if that is possible, I mean, we do value your opinion. And it would be great to hear that in either written format or at our next meeting when we review these cases again.
And
Looks
I
like
don't,
Patrick O'Rourke is the Historic Boulder attendees that I can tell.
yeah. And Catherine Barth also serves on their board of directors.
I think that, you know, it's interesting. I'm so grateful when Catherine speaks up. And sometimes, you know, I know that I think she's speaking kind of as an individual, and not necessarily as representation from Historic Boulder. It's unclear to me. But I do think that maybe a voice from Historic Boulder that, you know, is there consensus would be super helpful on any topic like this. So I guess I'm just putting that back out there. So Catherine, thank you for speaking up. And then if maybe there is a version of that type of representation on behalf of Historic Boulder as well, that would be really great.
Yeah, but I would say if Catherine is the designee for this meeting, then fine. But I hear you, Ronnie. We don't know. Catherine often speaks on behalf of herself.
Yeah, exactly.
Doesn't register as a representative of Historic Boulder.
Right.
Okay, I don't know that, Brenda, you don't see any raised hands from someone maybe from Historic Boulder. They may not have been able to join us tonight.
Well, Patrick O'Rourke is there. He's listed as an attendee.
And I am seeing Catherine with her hand raised. Would you like me to unmute her, Abby?
Yes, please.
Catherine, you should be able to unmute.
Hello. I'd like to just clarify. Patrick, I think Patrick's mother passed away, and he has been doing funeral and family duties for the last week. And so I don't know if he's here, that's just great. But my participation tonight was really for me. And my personal interest in small houses and trying to save small houses, because in my view, small houses are the closest thing we've got to keeping some affordable housing. I wish we had a program of the city that when a small house came up, that the city would say, we'll take it and we will have this be an affordable housing unit. So I'm very interested in small houses. I think that, as I mentioned, and I don't know if you guys got my email, which was written pretty late today. Did you receive an email from? Oh,
We did, Catherine.
okay. So I will not repeat that, but to me, I think that the small houses that housed big families, usually that were not wealthy, I think those people are so important to the development of Boulder. And it's really easy to, focus on the lawyers and the bankers but I think that the humble person who maybe had worked in those North Boulder vegetable gardens and orchards, that to me is so important to the development of Boulder, and that's my personal thing. I really believe in small houses.
Thank you, Catherine. And would you be willing to share with the Board of Directors and the Preservation Committee kind of Ronnie's interest in seeing if they have any thoughts about this as we proceed to the 2 hearings in the next 2 months?
Yes, yes, and I'll be happy to talk with Patrick. I think if he's tuned in at all tonight, he's far away with his grieving family, so he'll be back, and then we will. The procedure that really we like to take is that we have a meeting of the Preservation Committee, and we examine whatever the issue is. We make a recommendation to the board, and then the board will take a position for the organization.
Okay, great. Well, we hope to hear from you on both these upcoming hearings. Thank you. So now it's time to move on to our public hearing this evening. We're about 19 minutes later than we thought approximately we would be, but I think that's great because I think there's been some great discussion and some great things that we may even table for the future, but I think there's been some really wonderful things, food for thought tonight. So we'll move on to agenda item 5A. It's a public hearing and consideration of a motion to adopt a resolution to initiate the process for landmark designation pursuant to section 911.3 of the Boulder Revised Code, or alternately issue a demolition approval pursuant to section 911.23 BRC 1981. But Claire, I see that on the notes, but actually, because the demolition permit's been withdrawn, that's no longer an action we can take, correct?
That is correct. I missed that. I should have
I
lined that out on
apologize.
this one.
Yeah, so it's a motion to initiate the process of landmark designation. And with that, we'll move on to the first public hearing and the staff presentation.
Thank you, Abby. So this, Abby is correct. The alternative to issue the demolition approval is no longer an option, and I will get into details of that a little bit later. So this is just an initiation hearing, and it is legislative in nature. So the procedure is slightly different than a quasi-judicial hearing. The board does not need to reveal any ex parte context, although they're welcome to do so if they choose. The process is generally the same. I'll give a staff presentation. The board may ask questions. The owner may give a presentation. The owner's representative is going to give a presentation tonight, and the board may ask questions. The public hearing will be open for public comment, and the board may ask questions of the public, and then the public hearing will be closed and the board will discuss and make a motion. I didn't update this one either, and we'll get into the options for the motion a bit later also. So this has been the process so far. The LDRC referred the application to the Landmarks Board on January 12th. The application was for a proposal of full demolition of the house, and the board placed a stay of demolition at a hearing on June 1st. During the course of the stay, we've hosted 2 site visits with staff, Landmarks Board members, and the owners and the public. And then on August 3rd, the Landmarks Board voted to schedule a hearing to initiate landmark designation or issue the demolition permit. On August 31st, the owners withdrew the application for full demolition. The Landmarks Board is actually the applicant for the initiation. It's a separate process and a separate application. So even though the demolition application was withdrawn, the initiation hearing was still held tonight. And this does change the options a little bit tonight. So the board has 2 options. Because the application for demolition was withdrawn, the stay will not continue. The board in option 1 may vote to not initiate designation. And if that's the case, the application will be closed. A decision today to not initiate designation does not affect a future decision. So designation may be initiated at a future date. For example, if full demolition was proposed in the future, the process would follow the same demolition review process and could end up in exactly this place at a different date. Option number 2 is that the board may vote to initiate designation and a future hearing will be held. I've crossed out this one because the board cannot approve the demolition application as this application has been withdrawn. Any questions? John, you have your hand raised.
Yeah. My question is, I do have one, I guess, ex parte contact that I would like to state at some point. When is the time to do that?
That's a good question. I didn't allow for that. Why don't we do it now, if that's okay, Abby?
Oh, well,
Yes.
Claire, but I
Yes.
thought you said that it was, since it's not quasi judicial, it's legislative, we don't have to announce any ex parte we've had.
That is correct.
So there's your answer, John.
Okay, well, I just want to quickly state it, just because I like everything in the open. I'm friends with both Emily Stack and her husband, Jason, who is the potential builder on this project. I had a phone conversation with Jason one day and explained to him I really couldn't talk about anything. At that time, I thought it was in quasi judicial, and I explained to him what that meant. But I had that conversation, and I'm an old friend of his. So that's just for the record.
Okay. Did anybody else want to add anything or have any questions?
I just want to add something, just for clarification for myself. The process, if we were to go all the way through and recommend landmarking of this property to the Boulder City Council, would require 2 hearings, right, Claire?
It would require 2 additional public hearings in addition to this one, a designation hearing and then a city council public hearing. And in between those, it would also be on the city council consent agenda.
Yeah,
So it would
but I
be
mean, yeah,
scheduled for
right.
3 additional hearings.
Well,
Yeah.
but I mean, thank you. I should have been more precise. I mean, in terms of the Landmarks Board, when we act, we only actually, if we go all the way through to recommendation to council, we go through 2 hearing processes. So tonight, are we going to vote potentially to move to the next hearing process, which would be the initiation of designation?
No, you'd actually move to the designation hearing. So this one is the initiation of designation, which the way I like to think about it is that the application was created by the Landmarks Board. It wasn't given to you by the owner. It's against their wishes. So the Landmarks Board created the application, and this is the Landmarks Board deciding whether they're going to accept their application to initiate, in which case it would move to a designation hearing. Ordinarily, we would go straight to a designation hearing had the application come from the owner.
So this is a 9/11/5 designation hearing right now that we're having?
No, this is the initiation hearing. So we're 9/11/3.
Right. That's why
Yeah.
I'm confused.
Yeah.
Our vote tonight would be to move to 9/11/5 if we were to go all the way through the process.
Correct.
That would require yet another hearing, the designation hearing.
Correct. Yeah, you got
Okay,
it.
okay. Okay,
Okay. Did anybody else have any questions? We can move on. Okay, good. All right. We are in 9/11/3, which is the initiation of designation. And the meat of the criteria is in 9/11/3. The first item of 9/11/3, just to confuse everybody, refers back to 9/11/1 and 9/11/2, and that outlines the purposes and standards that we use to determine if the board has probable cause to believe the building might be eligible for designation as an individual landmark. In addition, 9/11/3 directs the board to review the application based on whether there are currently resources available to complete outreach and analysis, if there is community and neighborhood support, if the building needs protections provided through designation, if the proposed designation is consistent with the goals and policies of the Boulder Valley Comprehensive Plan, or if the proposed designation would generally be in the public interest. 9/11/3 is legislative, so the board can consider any of the information heard so far about the property. So the way that that Marcy explains this is that during the demolition review, there are very specific guardrails that define what the board may consider, and at an initiation hearing, the guardrails are off. So did anyone have any questions about that?
so the guardrails typically would have been off from the last meeting when we decided to vote to have this meeting and now. So that whole 1 month period, the guardrails would have been off. Correct?
I have no idea. I know during the stay that the board can consider anything that might help
Yeah,
preserve the
yeah,
building.
Yeah,
And
that's a
technically,
good,
we were still in the stay until August 31st.
yeah. Yeah, that's a little gray area, but I think the fact of the matter is we're about to vote on whether we want to go to a designation hearing. And that would be a whole different kettle of fish if we decided to go that far. Okay.
Right. So to orient you, 3122 8th Street is located in the Newlands neighborhood between Evergreen and Forest. Evergreen's here, Forest is up here. The house faces 8th Street. It is not within an identified potential historic district. The house features a shallow pitched pyramidal roof with a clipped gable at the peak and an asymmetrical facade where one half is recessed for this front entrance here. And the house is faced with polygonal stone. The house was built in 1948 by Ira Long. Ira worked for the city street department in 1940 and was a carpenter by the late 1940s. He went into business for himself. In 1950, Clyde and Opal Falk purchased the property from the Longs and lived there until 1978. Clyde served as the secretary of the Pleasant Grange Pleasant View Grange, and Clyde and Opal both died in 1978, and their son Dahl sold the house soon after. The property passed through a series of short-term owners, and the current owners purchased the property in 2021. None of the past residents appear to be historically significant on local, state, or national levels. So as I mentioned, Ira Long built this house. He also built at least 4 houses in the Newlands neighborhood between 1948 and 1952. All of the ones that we found had a hipped roof box style. Shown here is 3078th Street, which was constructed in 1951, and 2958 7th Street, which Ira built in 1952, and they are both still standing. These are the relatively current images. So Mr. Long clad 3122 8th Street here with the polygonal stone. Permit records show that he also clad the house next door, which he also owned, with the same stone around the same time, although he did not build this house, as far as we can tell.
It's interesting.
I should pause here and say, did anybody have any questions? Okay. All right. So even though there's not a strong association with historically significant people or events, and the area doesn't really have historic integrity, staff interpretation is that 3122 8th Street would be eligible for individual landmark designation based on the criteria that's outlined in 911-1 and 911-2. However, probable cause, which addresses whether the building could be designated, is only one of the items the board should consider to identify if the building should be designated. So the other items in 911-3 are whether there are staff resources for outreach and analysis. And as you know, staff resources are currently limited. Also, if there is community and neighborhood support, which has been minimal. And importantly to today's hearing, whether the building needs the protections provided through designation. And in the memo, we noted that if the stay of demolition expired, the demolition approval would be issued. However, there is no current demolition application, so the demolition approval will not be issued if the board takes no action today, or if the board does not initiate designation, and the buildings do not currently need the protections provided through designation. So the board is also asked to consider if initiation over the owner's objection represents a reasonable balance between private property rights and the public's interest, and is considered consistent with the Boulder Valley Comprehensive Plan. The ability to initiate designation over the owner's objection is kind of an extraordinary power that's given to the Landmarks Board, and we've used it sparingly and with a lot of consideration given to the interest of the public and to future residents of Boulder. For this property, because the community benefit is somewhat diluted by the lack of historic character in the surrounding neighborhood, and also context is really important. And this neighborhood is not a proposed historic district. Staff couldn't recommend initiating designation over the owner's objection. So this summarized staff's reasons for recommending to not initiate landmark designation. But I can pause here and ask if anyone has any questions. So, all right. That's the staff presentation.
Thank you, Claire. And now we'll move on to the presentation by, and Claire, did you say, is Emily going to be doing the presentation on behalf of the owners this evening?
I believe she is. But she can correct me if the owners would like to speak.
See Emily's name.
Emily, you should be able to turn on your camera and use your mute button. There you go. We can't hear you currently, however. I wonder if your headset is connected to Zoom. We cannot. You may already be doing this, but if with the little drop up arrow next to the mute button, we'll give you some microphone options. And you may want to tell it to use your headset microphone.
Okay.
There it is.
Now you can hear me.
We can.
Hello? Oh, good. Okay. All right.
Hi, Emily, and
Hello.
thank you for joining us tonight. Before you begin, and you'll have 10 minutes, we do need to swear you in. So if you raise your right hand and state your name, that would be great.
My name is Emily Stack.
Okay, thank you. And you may.
Okay. I'm with Daedalus Studio Architecture, and I'm the architect for Tiffany and Josh Gwither, the owners of the house located at 3122 H Street. Also, first off, I wanted to apologize for not being here at the previous hearing. Unfortunately, I suffered a pretty significant back injury. I was in no shape to be in public, either virtually or in person, but I'm doing much better and pleased to be here now. This presentation is going to be short and sweet from our perspective. Tiffany and Josh have decided to withdraw their application for demolition. They are not going to do anything to their house at this time. Things were moving pretty quickly, and unfortunately, as we've heard in other people speaking, we just did not have adequate time to perform proper due diligence on the house with respect to its existing structural integrity and other items that were raised by the home inspection back in October of 2021. And as we all know, in the construction industry right now, there are extreme shortages in labor, architects, engineers, and general contractors. We were having significant trouble getting a structural engineer to the site to perform a proper assessment in the allowed time frame, and understanding that once the clock starts ticking, it cannot be stopped. I do feel the structural assessment is an absolutely mandatory step in the due diligence process, and there just didn't seem to be adequate time and to have, we contacted Joel Smiley to come look at the house to give his opinion as well, which I think you all probably are familiar with him. But long story short, Tiffany and Josh were feeling overwhelmed, and they wanted to take a step back and assess all of the options before them in a more calm and relaxed and controlled manner. So in summary, the existing house is currently not at risk, and Tiffany and Josh are not planning to do anything until they can gather and process and assess all of the information. If and when they want to do something, the house might come back before you again. But thank you so much.
Thank you, Emily, for joining us and for that explanation. Do any board members have any questions for Emily? I'm not seeing any, so now we will move on to public comment for this public hearing. Brenda, do you see any hands raised?
I do not see any hands at the moment, but do invite members of the public who have joined us tonight to raise your hand at this time to indicate that you would like to participate in the public hearing. With a count to 7, Abby, we don't see any hands.
Okay, thank you. Then we'll go ahead and close what would participation for this item. And I also think it's fair to say, Emily, you don't have anything you need to rebut since there was no public comment. So we will now move on to board discussion. And I ask everyone else to please mute your computer or phone for the duration of this discussion. So Bill, would you like to start this off?
Bill, you're still muted.
Thank you, Ronnie. I see your lip reading capacity is still intact, though. No, I have nothing to add at this time.
John,
Well, I'm going to say that I pretty much concur with staff's findings on this. Having gone through the process, I don't feel like our, I guess, objectives are served by continuing at this point. The first and main goal was to attempt to avoid demolition. And I'm not going to talk about demolition again. And that for the time being has been met.
and I see Chelsea still here, so I'm going to ask her if she'd like to go next before Ronnie, because I'm not sure when we might lose you this evening.
Yeah, same. I'm not sure either. But thank you. I want to support the staff's recommendation to not move forward with designation. There's no immediate threat of the property or home being demolished. And I think that, there's been a clear opinion and desire from the homeowners throughout this whole process that they don't want to landmark their own house, and they especially don't want to do it without the information that they need to assess whether or not they can afford those changes, or whether it's worth it to them to make those changes due to the higher cost. So I hope that we come together and are able to move forward in that direction, and knowing that if there is a decision in the future for them to move forward with a demolition request or a designation request, then we can handle that decision at that time.
Thank you, Chelsea. Ronnie?
Yeah, I agree with Chelsea's description. I think that as staff and Emily have stated, the home is no longer under threat of demolition. And I think in this case, advancing this further is not necessary.
And so what I would like to add to the conversation is that I think both Emily and the homeowners have gone above and beyond to meet with Landmarks board members. You've let us have 2 site visits there that I know of, perhaps more. I really appreciate the efforts and the willingness to meet and hear our concerns, our questions, and our interest in this. And this is unique. And I know there are certain types of hearings where by the applicant's withdrawal, we would not have a public hearing, but we initiated this. We voted to hold this meeting. So we do need to do something. And I'm in agreement with my colleagues that while I personally think that this house does meet the criteria for individual designation, I don't think now is the time to pursue that. I think that the withdrawal of the demo permit makes it clear cut that we can vote not to initiate tonight it does not preclude us down the road if there was ever an interest or need to do so. And I don't know if someone would like to make a motion at this point.
I'd be happy to make a motion.
Thank you, Chelsea.
All right. So I move that the Landmarks Board adopt the staff memorandum dated September 7th, 2022 as the findings of the board and not initiate the process for landmark designation, finding that it does not meet the criteria for such initiation pursuant to section 911(3), initiation of designation for individual landmarks and historic districts of the Boulder Revised Code 1981, and in balance is not consistent with the goals and policies of section 2.27 of the Boulder Valley Comprehensive Plan.
Is there a second? John seconds it. So on a motion by Chelsea, seconded by John, is there any more discussion before we take a vote?
Yeah, I have a point I want to raise. Claire, this is to Claire. Claire, you made a comment in your presentation that regardless of what happens at this particular meeting, this is not to indicate that this condition that we're voting on will hold if in fact we land right back at the same place when and if a future demolition request comes through. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So that means that, and this is to Lucas. Lucas, would this mean then that if we put this motion in where we actually say that we find that that this does not meet the criteria and in balance isn't consistent with the goals and policies, that that particular vote is rendered moot if we come right back to the same place in the future?
This vote would be moot in the sense that you would be making a new decision based on whatever evidence and facts are at the time that it comes before you again. So this decision would not bind you to any particular decision in a subsequent hearing in the future.
Okay.
The language of that is kind of problematic, as
Yeah.
Bill just pointed it out, because we're simply vacating the action at this point. Is there a better way to state that?
I agree, John, with that, because I would rather we take an action tonight versus no action. But I think you're right now that I see it in front of me on the screen.
Yeah, that is, as Bill just brought out, it could be interpreted in a little more problematic way. We're saying it doesn't meet the criteria. It just doesn't need to happen now.
Yeah, it doesn't, well, not only that, but I'd like to suggest maybe we add, instead of is not consistent with the goals and policies, that we simply say, and therefore do not find it necessary to hold a public hearing to discuss designation. Thinking that initiation is different than designation, two separate hearings.
They are different.
Yeah, so what I'm thinking, what I'm hoping we do here is we say, okay, to John's point, we're vacating this whole business. We're not finding anything, because I'm not necessarily going to say that I agree with what staff has proposed. But I certainly am in favor of not going to 911-5 and initiating a designation hearing or holding a designation hearing.
Could we just end it as the findings of the board and not initiate the process for landmark designation? Could we just end it there?
And not get into not consistent with the goals and not.
Sure.
just need to-
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, 'cause, yeah, we didn't really find any.
Yeah,
Yeah, we didn't find
exactly.
anything.
And Ronnie, I saw your hand up.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that you brought this up, Bill. I was planning on doing the same. I was going to suggest that we look at the criteria that was listed, but I prefer this direction, which is modify the language. And just for clarification, I think that the property is no longer under threat of demolition. And to me, specifically, that is the thing That is the, I
That
think,
was the trigger.
it's the thing that everybody here has spoken about and that they're agreeing on. Not that there aren't other qualities that are criteria, but I am hearing one version of it from Abby and different versions from others. So to me, it's no longer under the threat of demolition.
Right.
And I think that that is the specificity that we need.
Yeah, by saying that whereas the demolition request has been withdrawn, if you want to put that somewhere in this language.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this captures it. What do you think, Bill?
I think it does too.
I think that's excellent.
All right, well,
Yeah.
I accept all
Chelsea, will
of
you-
your, yeah, I accept your friendly amendments.
But let's go ahead and read it to the record if you would be kind enough
Okay.
Chelsea, to read it again.
Sure. I move that the Landmarks Board adopt the staff memorandum dated September 7th, 2022 as the findings of the board and not initiate the process for landmark designation as the property is not currently under demolition.
Thank you.
Second that.
Yeah.
Okay, so the new motion as read by Chelsea, seconded by Ronnie. Any more discussion before we take a vote? Okay, Bill,
Aye.
Chelsea,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Ronnie,
Aye.
and I vote aye. So the board unanimously moves not to initiate landmark designation of this property at this point.
Thank you. I do have to go.
Okay,
to my next
Chelsea,
meeting.
thank you for
Thank
hanging
you so
in
much.
here.
All right, have a
Thank
good night.
you.
Bye.
Bye, Chelsea. So now we'll move on to matters.
I guess that's me. I should wake up.
And
I-
Claire, based on your schedule, we're only about 8 minutes over, so thank you.
That's awesome.
Claire, I'd like
Um,
to add, I'd like to add one more point to discuss,
Sure.
since I believe that council has given it to the individual boards to decide if they want to start meeting in person or stay with virtual meetings. Thank you.
Okay. And I can actually address that now. We are waiting for some direction from City Council as to when we go back in person, and also the city manager's office there. The last proposal was to have boards go back in an organized way so that they can iron out any wrinkles there would be in providing meetings that were both online and also in person. And that's currently, as far as I know, where we stand with that. We're still waiting for direction from them. So,
Well, I want to
we'll-
add a little piece of information. I spoke with a council member directly about this, and they told me that they had voted on allowing boards and committees to decide for themselves whether they wanted to go virtual or not. So is what you're telling me contrary to what he told me, or is there what you're telling me something additional to what he told me?
that's the information I know. If Brenda
How about
or
Christopher? Do you know anything more about this?
No, I don't know anything in addition to that, Bill. So we'll have
Well,
to follow
how
up with
about
the city
Brenda?
manager's office.
Brenda, you
No,
shaking your
I
head no?
just popped on to say that the information that Claire shared is the last information that I have seen come out of both the city manager's office and the city clerk's office, who we take our guidance from on boards and commissions.
Okay.
But I can certainly go back and ask about that conversation at
Well,
council.
yeah, I
wasn't
mean,
there that night.
I would imagine this
I'm
would be
happy
in
to help
council. I
clarify.
would imagine this would be in council minutes from
Yes,
their last meeting.
yeah, I'm happy to try and clarify that. and send out a message to you
Yeah,
all.
you know, I wasn't
On the next
just
meeting's
to be,
agenda.
to be clear, I wasn't fishing around, you know,
Yeah,
calling
no,
and
for
asking.
sure.
This just came up in a conversation.
Sure.
And I thought, oh, wow, that's pretty interesting. So you guys decided that, so we can decide for ourselves which direction we want to go. So I was actually hoping to have seen that item on our matters list, and I didn't see it. That's why I put it on. But yeah, if you could check it out.
Yeah, and maybe that the will of council is that staff make that possible. There are, as Claire said, some logistic issues that we're trying to get through in order to make hybrid meetings possible for boards and commissions. I'm not sure if we've addressed an either or question. I think we have made an assumption that our public who currently is able to attend meetings online would like to still have that option for boards and commissions. As opposed to offering boards and commissions the opportunity to be wholly in person without a hybrid capability. So I can also check on that question for you, Bill, and for all of you.
Thank you, Brenda. So the other thing that you might have seen that came out of the city clerk's office, I believe, was that they have scheduled a chair and vice chair orientation for October 1st. And you are all welcome to attend that. I don't know if the information went to you all, so if you'd like more information about that, it is a Saturday, and it is going to be a virtual meeting. So if you want more information about that, let me or Aubrey know. And also we have an upcoming conference, which is also going to be held virtually, exclusively, I believe, Aubrey. Is it exclusively virtual? And it is the Saving Places conference, and they are going to do some virtual sessions before the conference date, which is November 1st through 3rd. So if you would like to attend those conference sessions, please let Aubrey know before Friday after next, which is the 16th, so September 16th, because we would like to get you all signed up and then see if we can offer those slots to other people in the city if we don't fill them all. We have 10 available slots that come with our membership to that organization. So any questions?
I
Oh,
dropped
thanks, Aubrey.
the schedule for the virtual sessions in the chat if you want to check it out. Yeah, and just let me know. We're giving you first dibs. 10 slots total.
Yeah. And this is the National Trust for Historic Preservation Conference, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you for clarifying. And it's technically called the Pass Forward.
Right, right. And they
I
usually
only
have
need
amazing sessions.
three more continuing education units for this year, thanks to the NAPC. Very generously gave me 9.
You should check out the schedule because there'll definitely be some in that during that conference.
Yeah, I will. I'll be looking at it.
All right. Abby, did you want to talk a little bit about the board initiatives?
Yes, so this won't take too long, but I really appreciated Bill really considering topics and bringing this forward to us. And he and I had a conversation about this before the last board meeting. And I was trying to think how to not let this just fall off the radar. And what I'd like to propose, and I didn't have an opportunity to tell Bill about this, but what I am willing to do is take the initiatives. I have a copy of the topics that both Bill gave and that staff put on the slide in our August meeting. And what I'd like to do is maybe do a little spreadsheet for each topic, or if a couple of them can be grouped together in buckets. And what I'd like to approach it, in journalism, how they do who, what, where, and when, I would like to look at each topic to try to see what it might take to make progress on that. And I would do sort of my first threshold question for me would be why? what we would need to do, what all might be involved, especially what might have to be involved on staff's time and energy. And then, you know, the other question for me is who. And Bill, I've been thinking a lot about this. I think we have some wonderful resources we could reach out to that we don't utilize a lot, and that's past Landmarks board members, because they might have an interest in a certain topic or a certain issue, and they've sat in our seats, you know, they walked in our feet, and I thought they might be willing to do that. And what I thought I would do is, you know, do a little template for each topic, or again, if they can be grouped under one, you know, let staff see it, let Bill see it. But, you know, I think I would also try to put what I think it would take time-wise to do that. But after that, and this is going to be over, you know, multiple months. It's not all going to come to everybody before October 12th. But then what I think would be interesting and would need the full board buy-in is to have board members, then if we can get a grasp of what a particular topic might entail, time, energy, resources, and who might be interested in assisting with that, is kind of rank them, you know, and kind of see what topics rise to the top. It doesn't mean that other topics would go away, but that they might just be further down the road to kind of have a really robust discussion, or bring, you know, into something we could actively pursue. But that's sort of, I'm willing to take that on and do that and just see where we get on this, because I'm afraid if we don't do anything, they're just going to fall by the wayside. So if anyone has any questions, thinks that might be a path forward to at least see what we, you know, I want to try to get my arms around what each potential initiative might require.
Can we see
Abby,
the
thanks for
list on,
I was going to say, thanks for taking that on. I think that
Well,
would be helpful.
wait a minute. I have my hand up, Ronnie.
Oh, sorry. I
sorry,
can't
now I
see your
see it.
hand on my screen.
Go ahead, go ahead. Just waiting to see how long it would take for somebody. This is why we have to step in and, you know, yap on top of people, because this is why I hate virtual meetings. I do not like these things. I'd be much happier in person, as much of a pain as it is to go down to that building. Much rather have it that way, but anyway.
How do you really feel, Bill? No.
That's how I feel.
Okay,
You know,
Ronnie.
at my age, I don't hold back much. But, you know, I want to say one thing before Ronnie starts. Abby, this will never drop by the wayside. You know why? Because we've written it down.
True.
We all have copies of it, and I will never let my copy go away. So it'll never go by the way. We may never act on any of that stuff, but it won't ever go away. Confirmed.
Bill, what do you think about what Abby is saying? Do you think that's a good step forward to help us organize our thoughts on these topics, or?
You know, I don't want to poo-poo it. I like the way it sounds, Abby. I think it's as good as anything to try to like keep this moving along. I happen to think the real rub stands with our historic preservation staff that are staring right at us on this board, on this meeting board. That is where I think the issue is, because most of this stuff is going to require them to participate in some way, shape, or form. And getting more staff, I've not been quiet about this. I've told Christopher, I've told Brad, I've told some council members. You know, I keep saying we need more staff, partially out of, you know, self-interest. I mean, I want to see a lot of that stuff get done that's on that list. And I know with our staffing situation, as it currently is, that it ain't going to happen. So I think it's okay, Abby, to do that. But I honestly, if you want me to speak my heart, have to say, I think we have to deal with the real staff situation that's before us today in order to make any of this stuff actually physically happen.
I hear you, Bill, but I do think there are some potential partners out there in the community that could help move the ball forward.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I didn't say don't do it. I just said I still think that the final rub comes down to, you know, what staff is going to be capable and able to help do. And, you know, I know it's a different ball game, and it will be a much different ball game once Marcy gets back from her leave than what it was before under prior guidance. So maybe that will cause things to change, and maybe we'll be able to do work in a different fashion that will actually, you know, accomplish some of these goals. But I don't know. I mean, Christopher, you're kind of silent here. This is your team.
Yeah,
And
I wish I made the budgets, Bill. That's for sure. But
yeah, I know. I
There's
mean,
no- yeah.
you don't hold the purse strings. I get it. So, you know, I'm trying to be as effective as I can in what limited way that I can be. And that is just to use my mouth and use what little energy I have left in this body and go around and try and get more staff. However, I think I can make it happen.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and I think, you know, I think we, and certainly at my level, and I know Brad, our new director is very, very interested in historic preservation and very sympathetic to the limited size of our team. And so I think we, as a department, are, continuously starting to look at other ways that we can make the current team that we have work as efficiently as possible so that we can take on a bit more special projects and, not be dealing so much with the day-to-day type of work as well. And so looking at our current team, obviously looking at future opportunities to expand that team, that's certainly on my radar going forward. The current 2023 budget doesn't include any additional staff for historic preservation specifically, but we're always looking for some cross-training opportunities across other groups and other divisions within the department to, again, to see if we can't sort of spread out some of that day-to-day work to free up folks like Claire and Marcy and the rest of the team to work on some of these other more policy-driven projects.
Well, maybe that'll help. You know, maybe other money will come available for contracting contractors or consultants to come in and help possibly. One thing I do want to add to Abby's list, Abby, and I think another dimension to each one of these should be staff's assessment to success. Like, what does staff look, and I say staff, meaning whoever the heck is designated that could best, from Christopher's group, best address this and say, okay, this particular thing right here is going to require too much staff level work. And or this particular thing requires steps A, B, C, D, and E to be done. And before we can get to say we've been successful in actually accomplishing that. What I wouldn't want to see us do is like what happened with the paint project that John and I got sucked into, where we were misled into thinking we were doing something that was going to be correct. And then at the last minute, somebody pulled out a pocket veto and said, oh, no, here, give us all that. Here, you guys can't do that. Here, we'll do it. And if I'd have known that from the beginning, I wouldn't have done all that work, and neither would have John. But that's what I'm saying. Have a staff assessment up front on each one of these guys. Let us know, A, the possibility or the probability for actually having it accomplished within this current year, and or is this something that can actually conceivably ever get done without any staff work? So we don't waste our time.
Well, what I'm happy to do is start putting something together for staff to even respond to,
Yep.
to start breaking it down a little bit in bullet points and maybe identify some resources in the community and in Boulder and beyond, with CPI in Denver and
Yep.
so forth. So
I think it's better than, I think unless somebody has any better ideas, I'm for it.
John or Ronnie, do you have anything to add?
Well, I think that it's kind of a excellent approach that you're taking, Abby. I think at least it's breaking things into bite sizes,
Yeah.
maybe, which is the only, when you have, in my experience with having 20 things going at the same time, which is kind of what happens in my life a lot, at some point you just get to where you just have to jump in on anything because everything that gets done needs to be done in some form. Some things are critical path and they're dependent on a previous thing being done, but other things you just take a bite and start working from one side to the other. So if that's all we've got, until we get staff or we get some other support, outside body maybe, I think that's the right way to try to accomplish something and not just talk about it.
Ronnie, anything you want
Yeah.
to add?
Yeah, I mean, thanks for working on this, Abby. I do think it will be valuable. So, I look forward to seeing it. I don't disagree with Bill kind of on 2 points. One being like, we're going to need some staff help in order to accomplish these tasks. And that's just a reality. And I think we need to be, patient, but also prepared when we have the bandwidth to do it. And then I think one thing that Bill brought up that's just worthy of repeating is that we don't want to put our volunteer efforts to waste, and that in the past, when there has been significant time spent on something that seems like a subcommittee project and it gets shelved because we're the wrong people to be working on it for whatever reason, that makes it hard to show up for a meeting or to volunteer for the next thing. And I do know that has happened. So, I hear you, Bill. I think, Bill, you have done an incredible job, spending extra time outside of these meetings, pushing forward some of these agenda items. And, I think that we have had significant success on some of them. And then I will say, I have also felt like we've dropped the ball on others. I am particularly interested in the demo review and regulation around that updates, and whatever we can do to push that forward when I think we're fully staffed. And I think this might actually be an area of expertise for Marcy, that would be a significant accomplishment if we tackled that within a year's time and actually had change in that world. So I look forward to that.
Thank you. So, I'll start on it and I'll share it with staff. I'll keep Bill in the loop and we'll just see, it's going to become kind of crystal clear quickly what's doable, what's not, what might, need more time and so forth. But I want to start somewhere. Brenda has an update about board and commission meetings returning into person. So Brenda, would you like to share that with us now?
I would. I reached out to Sarah Huntley, my director, and the director of communication and engagement. And she said that the council discussion did not result in a vote on this. They were more focusing on formats for their own meetings in that discussion. And so there has not been a vote of any kind on formats for boards and commissions. She's not sure what that will look like yet, if that is something council will want to weigh in on, but currently staff is working on plans and proposals for that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brenda.
Thank you, Brenda. Is there anything else? We're kind of close to adjourning at a projected time of 8:15 p.m. Hasn't been that long, but anyone else?
I want to make one comment, just
Sure.
one comment back on our list of stuff and staff ability. We all voted. It was a unanimous vote to allow the bandshell boundary to be expanded, and it was shot down partially because somebody said, well, we can do a historic district in its place, and that would be even better than just having a ban shell boundary expansion. Well, there's a trade-off on that, right? The trade-off is that staff is going to have to be doing that. That's a big project. So that's less stuff that staff can help us do, because if we had just put it to bed with the ban shell boundary, we could have taken our time on coming up with the historic district for that area. But now,
not only one staff, but multiple staffs.
oh yeah, it's a big
It's
deal. I know it is. I mean,
multi-departmental now.
I'm sure Marcy called everybody like she called me before she went on leave. And we talked about that. And she understood that that was going to be like a top priority.
Yeah.
Yet there was never a vote taken by council to tell staff to do that. It was the same kind of thing that Brenda's talking about with the in-person versus virtual. They talked about it and they said, well, we should do it. And, but I don't think, Christopher, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think you've gotten a direct mandate from city council to start that project.
I'm trying to remember how they worded the motion. I seem to remember that there was a nod of 5 to direct staff to begin that project, or to plan for that for next year and initiate that as soon as possible. I think there was definitely some caution from council members about making a work plan decision just during a regular meeting and not as part of the retreat at the beginning of the year. But we took that direction to heart, and the historic district and the demolition code update are the two primary items that we are planning to focus on in 2023. So there's going to be some overlap in terms of when they actually get started. We have some work to do to prepare for the district conversation, but those are both definitely the two priority projects that we have planned out for next year.
As long as, it does get going and somebody doesn't, throw you a curveball and come back at you and say, well, no, you don't have to go through with that. We never really told you to do it. I mean, it's a good thing to do it. I'm not saying it's something we should not do. But I just say, well, because you have to do that, there's all these other things you can't do. We have a whole list of stuff, as you now see, of things we'd like to work on, but can't be worked on because you'll be gummed up with other work. There's Ronnie with his hand. Yep, he's sticking.
Ronnie?
No, I wasn't trying to get your attention. I do have my hand up. It's just different topics. Bill, I didn't try to interrupt you.
No, I'm done. I just wanted to point that out. Thank you.
I had a very different thing to say. If anybody else has anything to say about the last topic, I don't want to. Okay. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'll just empathize and say, Bill, you're not alone. That happens to planning board as well, that there are things that planning board members might want to put forward or ask city council to prioritize on the work plan. And it's always a discussion of, what's the staffing, what's the budget, what's the work plan. So I'll just offer my empathy that, we're there too.
Yeah, I'm sure. I know we're not alone.
Thank you, Laura. Ronnie?
So off topic, a handful of years ago, the city offered tours of public works facilities, including the water treatment plant. And I missed it. I was out of town. I would love to see the water treatment plant and to have a tour of that, as well as any other major public facility that we're managing that is kind of like backbone structure to how the city works. There might be an aspect of it that has to do with waste disposal and waste removal, although I've been to the dump so many times in my life. I'd still go there again and get the tour. I'd love to see what's going on. I know that sounds silly, but in the sense that it seems so removed from some of the stuff that we're talking about, but I'm very interested in that. And I felt like participating on this board opened a door for me that was going to reopen again to get to see some of those inner workings that again are just like how this city functions. And it didn't show up again. I asked for this again a couple of years ago. And I think it just kind of disappeared. I mean, obviously, I don't know who else to ask, but how can I do that? How do we get involved in that? And when are those made available to volunteers for boards? Maybe that's a question for you, Christopher.
Yeah, I'll certainly dig into it. Obviously, I don't have the history of that or knowledge of that, but I'll ask around. I'll go to the city manager's office and certainly our public works department. I can ask the director there and understand what that looks like or what the history is there. Maybe Brenda has some old time knowledge.
I mean, it should be required for all voters in the city of Boulder to have some kind of basic understanding of the facilities of the city. That might be a question for the city manager's office.
It might be. I do have a little context for how those tours came about, Ronnie. We did that as part of volunteer appreciation, at least in my time here, which is 5 years. I think it was in my first couple of years. So maybe in that time frame you're talking about, we offered that as part of how we appreciated our volunteers for their work. And people could sign up for different tours of different facilities. And then with COVID, that fell away because we weren't able to invite people into those facilities any longer. So the last couple of years for that volunteer appreciation, we've done drive-in movies outside. But I can certainly share with our volunteer cooperative how much that type of thing is appreciated by those of you who are really invested in the city and doing this work. And Don, you're not wrong. I think the more we all know about how our city runs, the better we vote.
Yeah,
That's right.
that's great.
I want to be on that tour, even if it's just me showing up and you guys let me walk around and I'll make things up.
I'll go. I love those kind of tours.
I would go, sign me up.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'd much
great.
rather do that than go to the drive-in.
Yeah.
I just feel like it is so applicable to our everyday lives. And I know that we're like, talking about preservation and we're commingling it with conservation, maybe sometimes inappropriately. But I would really, anyway, you guys see, I'm very interested in this. I'd really like to, and if there's an opportunity, Brenda, that you see that's made available, I would jump on that. And I don't know how much longer I have on this board. I think I'm about to time out. So let's make that happen.
I imagine we can get you an invitation even if you've termed off, Ronnie. So, but thank you for that reminder, because I don't think you're alone in your engagement and desire to do that. And it's just something that we haven't had the option to think about, so we haven't thought about it. But now I think we're back in that place where we do. So thank you for that.
No, if you like those kind of tours, Ronnie, I'll tell you, I took one a little off topic here, but NOAA gives a great tour. Man, I'll tell you, I learned so much by taking the NOAA tour. I don't know if they still do it, but if you ever want to see how, they manage the whole mechanism of, coming up with weather reports and solar flares indicating where tornadoes are going to pop, and all kinds of crazy stuff. It's how they collect their carbon, the mechanisms for, all around the world, where like they got a person up at the North Pole that every so often, takes a dig and puts it in a little capsule, sends it up in a helium balloon, and it blows over, just all kinds of crazy things. It's a great little tour to take if you haven't taken it.
Well, and that reminds me, and Ronnie, probably not really what you're talking about, but another great tour when they can do it based on global pandemics is Boulder County elections. We'll take you on a tour of the process from when your ballot arrives and the whole process through that. And it's an excellent tour to see how much energy and effort they put into every vote counting, including at one point where if they kind of think they know what a voter meant, they find a Republican and a Democrat to sit down together and try to verify a particular mark on a ballot. That's a fascinating one because they go above and beyond to make sure every one of our votes are counted. Is
I
there,
just put them both in my phone.
is there anything else anyone wants to bring up under matters? I do want to give a shout out again to the staff, Claire, Aubrey, Faith, you guys are awesome. I know you're missing an important piece for a few months, but it's well worth it. But you guys, thank you again for, just plugging away, getting this meeting organized, all the great communications, and how timely you send things to us when something changes, like a demo's withdrawn, or a member of the public sent an email this afternoon that you got to us very quickly. So thank you.
Thank
I
you,
never
Abby.
did get that message that what's her name was talking about. Sorry, forgot.
Catherine Barth.
Catherine. Yeah, I never got that, and that has nothing to do with staff, but it has something to do with that email list, that landmarks board email list. There have been issues with that in the past, and some people don't get. John, did you get that message today from Catherine? Because in the past you
You
weren't
mean her
getting it.
letter?
Yeah.
Yes,
it
I
actually-
did. And
It
read
actually came through us,
And
through
then-
our historic@bouldercolorado.gov email, which is our general email box. So you might want to make sure it's not in your spam.
But you guys forwarded on like within 30 minutes. So thank you.
That was today.
Yeah.
That was
That
today.
was
Yeah.
mid or late afternoon.
I got it at like 3:40 p.m.
That was about when I got it.
Yeah. So thank you, Claire. Faith, and
Oh,
everyone.
I see. I was looking for Catherine's name. I see that. Yes. Okay. Got it.
Thank you, Abby. Appreciate it. And I nearly forgot, our next regular scheduled board meeting is on October 12th, which is actually the second Wednesday of October. It conflicted with Yom Kippur, so we moved it. So we actually have an extra week of preparation time this month, and then between October 12th and November 2nd, it's going to be very tight. So we appreciate you, your kind words and nice feedback, because it's going to be a bit of a crazy month. So
It is, but I am pleased that the board didn't vote to have 2 initiation hearings on October 12th. So thank you, everybody. I think that makes it easier for staff and easier for us as, and members of the public to have an opportunity to weigh in. So thank you. So if there's nothing else, the meeting is adjourned.
Claire, I just quickly read Catherine's note, and one of the points I did agree with in your memo was there was little community interest in the proposed stay of demolition. Usually we get letters, usually like the one Catherine just put right here. Usually there are people that come forward and say something. If there's when we get as far as 9/11/3, people start to organize, and if they care enough, if they think there's a reason. And as far as I know, this letter from Catherine was the only one that I've seen on this topic. Is that all you ever received as well?
yes, it is.
Yeah.
We've received some letters during the stay, but not since the initiation was scheduled.
Yeah. So I would disagree with her conclusion that, this is normally the period when people will be coming forward, and they didn't. So
Yeah.
what can we
That's
say?
kind of the scrape district over there.
But also, Bill, my experience is you're right that sometimes we hear more before an initiation, but usually my experience has been if people are really interested, it's more at the designation hearing. But you're right, usually we hear from more people.
Yeah, I mean, more
for this-
than just Catherine. Somebody would have
Yeah,
come
yeah.
out if people had any kind of real concern or interest in that
Mhm.
building. But okay.
Anything else? The September board meeting is adjourned at 8:30 p.m.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye,
everybody.
everyone.